What was considered normal 100 years ago but is now met with scorn. Teachers smoking in the classroom. Or even doctors smoking during an appointment. Smoking was just an okay thing to do anywhere. It's astonishing to think only a few decades back, restaurants, planes, etc. all had smoking and non-smoking sections, much less 100 years. Only about 2 years ago I stopped at a steakhouse restaurant out in a pretty rural area. Half the dining area was reserved for smokers. May as well had the whole area because I still got choked out. Smoking section is live having a peeing section in the swimming pool. The N-word. My grandmother used to use the dreaded N-word in conversation with no concept of it causing offense. She would tell stories like how there was this really nice NR woman she used to work with. My grandma can't understand why there's an issue with talking about that colored woman down the street. Marrying your first cousin. I have some bad news for you. Alabama entered the chat. It's actually about half of all Muslims. I'm prepared to weather the downvotes as this makes people somehow more sad than it being the South. Alabama leaves the chat. Mailing kids was legal from 1913 to 1919. There were extra costs for sending girls via post, compared to boys. They called it femaling. That is some extra info I was unaware of. Thank you. Marrying as young as my great-grandmother. My grandma was married at 12, first kid at 13. Husband was 21 when they married. Edit, the picture of their wedding. Shit is still normal in some places though. It wasn't as young as 12, but one of my friends once told me about her grandparents who met at her grandmother's debut and got married shortly after. Now her gran would have been about 16/17 when this happened, her granddad was in his late 20s. She just couldn't understand why I thought it was creepy that he went to a high school to find a bride, thought it was just this perfect love story. 1921, my grandfather was 1 year old. He lived in a farmhouse with no electricity or running water but his dad owned and farmed his land and did okay for himself. Nowadays living in a house like that would be the epitome of poverty. My great-grandpa lived to 85 years old, retired that year and was dead within a month. He worked from the age of 7 years old, his first job was a bird scarer. I mean I like to hope your grandpa is not met with scorn now. He died in the 1960s, I'm pretty sure he doesn't care at this point. Cocaine is medication for infants. It's still used today under dire circumstances but like we need to go back to putting cocaine in shit. Cures shyness. Some of these replies make me believe that some people have a weird view of time. Either that or they are not really sure what year it is right now. 100 years ago was 1921. The First World War was over. People were not burning witches. Men were not wearing high heels. But some families did still share a bed, the whole family. In the UK only the rich had indoor toilets, car tax was introduced in the UK, the first birth control clinic was opened in London and in the USA radios were becoming popular in all homes. Just some perspective there so you can fix your timeliness. To be fair I think a lot of people, myself included, are stuck in this weird time loop where I still think of it as the early 2000s. To me the 80s still seems like 15 to 20 years ago. That's life. You say 10 years ago and I still think 90s not 2011.